Today, we're identifying the 6 warning signs that your marriage could be in trouble. These warning signs don't mean that your marriage is doomed, but it does mean that you want to be proactive in dealing with them. Marriage researchers find that couples wait an average of 6 years of being unhappy before they get the help that they need. And over those 6 years, resentment and anger builds. So let's take a look at what these warning signs are and what to do about them. The first warning sign is that everything's a fight. You're fighting about everything. You're fighting about nothing. And after a while, you just feel like you can't do anything right because they're mad at you about how you drink your water or how you eat or how you walk.
That's so true. And another thing that couples do, especially when things get really toxic, is they do what we call negative assumptions. So a negative assumption is when something that happens might be a neutral thing, but we decide that we know what is really happening in here. We tell ourselves, I know what this is about. And we assign motives for our spouse of what's really happening. Now, everybody, in fairness, does this to one degree or another. My goodness, we just had this scenario happen just last week on our date night.
Yep. Yeah. So I tell Derek that my last client is going to be over at 5 o'clock and that I had a few things to wrap up and then I'd be home.
Well, that's not what I heard. What I heard
Well, you heard wrong.
What I heard was we are walking out the door at 5 o'clock. And so I adjust my whole schedule to be able to walk out the door at 5 o'clock. I have somebody ask me if I want to hang out a little bit. I'm like, nope, can't do it. We've got a date night and we're leaving at 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock comes and goes. 5:20 comes and goes. By 5:40, I'm starting to get worked up. I think I sent you a text about that point.
Yeah, you're like, I thought you'd be home by now. I'm like, what? What does that mean?
Yeah, that was the moment where I was losing the battle in my mind slowly. And so by the time 6 o'clock comes, I have made up my mind that I know what has happened in here. And the conclusion that I come to is that I care about date night.
Yeah. So then that means I don't care about date night.
Well, you said it.
You implied it.
Yeah. No, and seriously though, what I come to is I prioritize it. I make sacrifices. And where are you? And so you come home to an environment to where, well, I'm in a lousy mood and it makes for a not so great date night.
Yeah. He's angry about something that he misheard, that we just had a miscommunication about.
Yeah. And here's the thing that's really interesting. And just observing myself, even when I was able to cognitively make the switch that this was a communication, the emotions had already set in. And it's just a weird phenomenon. I had let those emotions take root and it was hard to move out of.
Yeah. Yeah. It took a while.
Yeah. So the second warning sign that your marriage could be in trouble is when you start to brush things under the rug.
Yeah, there's reasons why we brush things under the rug because we've tried to approach our spouse before and it hasn't gone well. So why bring it up? It's not going to go well. It's going to turn into a fight. So I'm just going to brush it under the rug and pretend it's not there.
Yeah, that's one thing that can happen. And another thing that can happen is that people will try and talk themselves out of the emotions that they're feeling.
And that used to be me. I used to stuff my emotions because I really didn't know what I was feeling and how to approach Derek on this. So I would try to tell myself, it's not that big of a deal. Don't bring it up. It's just going to cause a fight. And I would stuff and stuff and stuff. And the problem with that is eventually you blow because those emotions don't stay stuffed.
Yeah. And I remember that I would tell you, I don't want you to stuff. I don't like how that ends. But there's also a part of this that's on me, that when you come to me with things that are still just sort of bothering you a little bit, that I've got to be a person who doesn't get defensive, who doesn't try and talk you out of it and tell you it's not a big deal, because that would reinforce the stuffing behavior.
Yeah. It would just make me push it down even more.
Right. So these 2 warning signs, the first one being everything's a fight, and the other being that we stuff and put things under the rug. The remedy for both of those is learning to resolve conflict. And so, for some specific ideas on how to resolve conflict, we actually did a whole episode on resolving conflicts, and we'll link to those in our show notes.